Welcome back to the Halo Map Retrospective Series. This time we're going to be doing Halo Reach, almost to the end. This time I'm just joined by Matt, and just him and I are going to cover all the Reach maps, including the DLC ones and the Anniversary Map Pack. So
Reach.
Yeah. So starting it off, we got Anchor 9. How about you start us off, Matt?
I had a lot of fun on Anchor 9, and I played it a little bit on matchmaking, which it's kind of a shame that a lot of the Halo Reach downloadable maps, you didn't really get to play on matchmaking. It kind of sucks, but I played Infection on it a lot. That was really fun. Slayer's really good, and I'm kind of a sucker for the low grav areas. That's just really fun. I honestly would like to see some sort of remake of this map. I really liked it, and I wish I'd gotten to play more. Yeah, I love it. I gave it an 8.
All right. Yeah, I agree with you. It was a pretty fun one. I think for the basic layout, I didn't really find anything special from what I played of it. We should preface this with saying that we never. Well, I can't say we never. We got to play some of these in matchmaking, but
Yeah,
we played a few of them. But unfortunately, they took them out before we really got to get a lot of time on any of them. So
and I didn't have an Xbox for a year.
Yeah. So a lot, like any of the opinions on the DLC ones, save for, I mean, we did get to play the anniversary ones a bit more since they were featured much more prominently in their own playlist. But by the time we actually got to playing the DLC ones, they took out the playlist, so it's kind of impossible almost to get some of these. So yeah, well, definitely some of these are just pretty much our impressions based off of some custom games we played, or just our general impression of it altogether. So you're not going to be getting too great of input on some of the DLC ones. But getting back to Anchor 9, I like I said, I don't think the layout itself is that like memorable from what we played in the few games that I got to play in matchmaking, but it works. It's a nice like little symmetrical type layout, and I definitely agree about the low gravity parts. They were a lot of fun. So I'm going to go ahead and give it a 6. What was your rating?
I gave it an
8. All right, and I gave it a 6. We're not going to really need to recap it, so just pay attention, people. It's just two of us this time.
It's coming hard and fast. You got to listen.
Yep. Next, we're going to move on to Asylum. Asylum is the remake of Sanctuary, except for it's made in Forge World, so, it's pretty basic. Nothing too amazing about it. I mean, it's nice. It is Sanctuary with a few changes, and I think it still plays well. It still plays good like Sanctuary did, but it's not a whole lot changed, and it's still in Forge World, so it just feels kind of plain. Like, I mean, any of us could have made this if we wanted to, because it's just made with the Forge World pieces. No huge change in environment or anything like that. So for that reason, I'm gonna go ahead and give it a 6, because it's a step down from Sanctuary, just because I thought Sanctuary was a fun, unique map, and if they're gonna do a remake, I would have liked a little bit more from it.
I'm gonna pretty much echo your 6 right there. I didn't. That just sounded like pilot lingo. I'm gonna echo your 6, but really, I feel the same way you did. I honestly was not a big fan of Sanctuary. I thought it was all right. It was good, but I didn't really want to see it come back. So this map was a little underwhelming. And it is built in Forge World, which gives us the Forge World palette of green and gray. That's what you see in a lot of maps, and it just becomes so boring. It plays exactly like Sanctuary, and like I said, I wasn't that great of a fan of Sanctuary. Slayer and One Bomb are pretty good on this map, as well as CTF. Yep, and like I said, 6 out of 10.
All right. Next up, we got Battle Canyon.
Battle Canyon had some interesting changes with the map. It changed quite a bit. They added some tunnels. one in the center and then two on each side of the base. And it was kind of weird not having the teleporters at the back of the base. Instead, it was a lift to get on top of the base, and the teleporters were behind the base in a little tunnel. I understand that they had to make some changes, but I really wasn't a fan of it. I didn't like how it was implemented. I think it's quite a big step down from Beaver Creek. I gave it a 6 out of 10.
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of weird like that. The changes are definitely interesting. I don't think I like that you can just shoot up to the back of the base, with the lift, and I don't know how I think of like how I feel about the teleporters being moved. I do kind of like the little tunnels. I think that's kind of neat having little two tunnels on each side to kind of make it so you're not completely trapped when you go for the overshield or where it used to be and the shotgun on the little river or whatever you want to call that little pond. And I think that's kind of neat. But yeah, I don't think it played quite as well as the previous two iterations. So I'm going to go ahead and give this one, I'm going to give it a 6. It's definitely a step down from the 9 that I think I gave it in the previous game. So yeah, I agree with you on that. Next up, we got Boardwalk. Boardwalk, I mean, I can't really find much to like about this map personally.
Did you ever get to play it?
Yeah, I did get to play it before for some reason I can't play it on my Xbox anymore. It's not even just the disc. We tried it on multiple discs, and my Xbox does not play Boardwalk anymore, which I'm not complaining that much about because I'm not a big fan of Boardwalk. It's fun. I mean, I guess if I'm going to use the term fun loosely, it's fun for infection, but it's not really, I don't know. I didn't really have a whole lot of fun with that in any game type that I can think of when I'm trying to remember all the games I played on it. It just wasn't that memorable to me. It's not something I would ever want to see back. So I'm going to go ahead and give it a 5. I don't hate it. I just don't like it either.
Yeah, Boneyard, I feel it kind of feels like at least the top area.
Boardwalk.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's
yeah,
fine.
sorry. I was reading ahead. Boardwalk feels kind of like elongation and longest on the top area, where you kind of got a narrow look of where you're attacking, and honestly, that's kind of cool, and it makes my statements in the Halo 1 and Halo 2 retrospectives kind of dumb because I kept saying like, oh yeah, I can't think of any map that really redid it, but here's Narrows and now Boardwalk that did it, which is kind of cool, but like I've said before, I'm not a really big fan of that layout, and I thought, honestly, it really worked for infections and snipers, but besides that, I kind of found it middle of the road, and I gave it a 5 out of 10.
All right. Next up, we got Boneyard.
Boneyard, here we are. I wanted to do this one before. Obviously, it was built for invasion, and that's kind of the best game type for it, but I also had really a lot of fun on it with Heavy Big Team Slayer. It kind of gave you all the heavy weapons, but they weren't really overpowering. Like, the tank had so many things in front of it that it couldn't just destroy everyone on the screen. The problem with Heavy Big Team Slayer on that map was that the area in Invasion, where the attacking team starts out, gets left out. No one really goes there in any other game type. So, it was a pretty cool map, but it really only worked for Invasion the best. It was alright for Heavy Slayer. I gave it a 5 out of 10.
Yeah, Boneyard was definitely made just for pretty much Invasion and a little bit for Invasion Slayer, but I mean any big team battle map could probably be used for Invasion Slayer. It's just, basically territories in that regard, but or King of the Hill. Yeah, just it's fun for Invasion, but it doesn't have much versatility to it. Like, I don't ever remember even getting Capture the Flag or anything like that. It'd probably just be too crazy of trying to get the flag all the way back would probably be really tough to do. But, I mean, it was fun for Invasion, and I did have some fun on it, so I'm going to go ahead and give it a 6 out of 10. Just because to me, it was above average in that it was at least worth something to Invasion, but then again, Invasion itself wasn't that great of a game type, so it got old. And when you have a map that only plays to one game type and you get kind of tired of playing that game type, then yeah, that map isn't going to be fun anymore. Next, we got Breakneck. Breakneck is the Headlong remake from the Anniversary map pack, and man, I would have loved to play this more. This is one of those, like we were talking about before, where we didn't get to play a whole lot of it. I I think I maybe played one capture the flag game on it or something, and and then they got rid of the big team battle anniversary playlist or whatever it was, and they just made it, the regular anniversary. So now you can only uh, get it for like snipers, which is disappointing because when you think headlong, you think like capture the flag or one flag or one bomb assault and stuff like that, or just even Slayer would have been fun. But just being forced to play snipers is disappointing. But that's not any knock on the map, obviously. For as far as the map goes, from what I could tell in custom games and just the fun we had, I definitely think it still has the spirit of headlong there. It still seems to do everything that it did right. Um, One thing that's a noticeable change is instead of the teleporter, you have a man cannon that shoots you way up to from the smaller base all the way up to that big building, and that's kind of cool, I guess. I mean, I don't seeing that change too much, other than exposing you a little bit more for a little bit longer of time. But beyond that, I didn't notice a whole lot different. They kind of smoothed out a few areas, and yeah, I think it would play pretty well. So I'm gonna go ahead and give it an 8 out of 10, just because I mean it's still headlong, and I wish I would have got to play this more. It still seemed like a good map.
I feel like Halo Reach with remakes of some maps, you knew they were coming, and then when you got them, you're like, "This is what you did. That's what you got for us." Breakneck, it just headlong was there, but it added some. There were some nooks and crannies on the far end of the map, even behind the base where you attack, that weren't there before. Jetpacking kind of changed how this map played, and honestly, it wasn't quite the same. And I know I didn't get to play CTF and Assault on the big team playlist because I never got the chance. Um, if I would have played those, my opinion probably would have been a little bit different. But I feel like Breakneck is Headlong's disappointing cousin. Almost the same, but not quite. I gave it a 6 out of 10. I just didn't feel like it was quite the same.
Yeah, and it's a shame we didn't get to play like what Headlong was made for, because I think your opinion would have changed and I would have gotten a better idea of it. Maybe my rating would have gone down or up. This is one of those that we didn't really have that great of an idea because we didn't get to play as much. So I mean that's our best guess based on
I
what we saw.
I
So
thought that was an odd move that they just removed
yeah,
Big Team Battle Anniversary and just kind of combined it into one, because you had two obvious Big Team Battle maps that people wanted to play, but then you decided to not give anybody the chance to play them.
yeah, that's very disappointing. I mean, like you said before, I believe in the Halo 2 one, you said you want to see a headlong remake, not counting. I mean, you said, yeah,
And
sure, they
not,
remade it for this, but you want an actual remake for a future game so you can actually play, some matches on it. And
yeah,
I agree. I would love to see headlong again brought back into a game that they actually put it in there a lot earlier. Because, I mean, the anniversary maps didn't even come out till, Reach's last year of playability until Halo 4 comes out, because it didn't come out till last fall or something, fall or winter. So yeah, even the people that got anniversary right away didn't get a too much time to play. I mean, a year, it's still not a whole lot, and I would have loved to seen this map, from the start, or at least be able to still play it. But yeah, it's disappointing for sure. Next up, we got Breakpoint.
Breakpoint was a pretty fun map. It was great for Big Team Battle and had some interesting changes for Invasion. I didn't get to play Invasion for this game type, but you told me about it, and it sounds cool. It sounds different and fun. Something you can do where you have different goals. And I think one of Reach's strong points was their original DLC maps. Was uh, anything that wasn't a remake, they actually had some pretty good DLC maps, which is great. And I don't know if that's me thinking they're great or me just being like, oh yeah, I barely got to play this, but I had a lot of fun on their DLC maps, and I gave Breakpoint a 7 out of 10.
Yeah, definitely, and I like. You already mentioned it, but I like for sure like that they did the whole. They changed up how Invasion plays just for this map, or at least I think this is the only map that did have it that way. And how you first, when you take the territories, then you plant a bomb, and then you grab the core and score it. And I mentioned that before I even found out that that map did that. I mentioned that I would like a, invasion style map where you do 3 different things rather than take, territories twice and then take the core out. So I think that's definitely cool that they made that for this map, and it's a great looking map. I think it looks beautiful and seems to play well. I would have loved to play more games. This is another one where I think I got maybe one matchmaking game and that's it. And I was very disappointed in that because, one, I love snow maps. Two, I think it just seems to have a great layout for, a big team battle setting. It has the vehicles for, causing some mayhem, and a lot of space and great, sight lines for some fun, and definitely seemed to have some unique playstyles to it, and I just would have loved to experience that more. So I'm going to go ahead and give it a 7 out of 10. Next up, we got Condemned. Condemned, not too much stands out to me about this map, except for, the zero gravity area, of course, in the middle. And as you see in the footage, that can be a lot of fun. And it's, I think that's cool that they added that. But beyond that, I didn't really have too much fun on this map. It's a nice layout. It's, for competitive play. But, I did get a chance to play this one in some matchmaking a few times. And it's fun for capture the flag, with the whole zero gravity kind of throws a wrench in things if you choose to take that way, or you can go around, of course. But it's still fun, but once again, it just doesn't really stand out to me as something I would love to see again. I love the concept of the zero gravity, and I'd like to see that maybe, used in this way. I thought it was much better than a map that's later shown or later revealed that we'll get to. But yeah, it's not bad, but it could have gotten better in my opinion. It just seems kind of plain beyond that zero gravity area. So I'm going to go ahead and give it a 6 out of 10, just above average.
The first time I played Condemned was actually just before we recorded this, when you and I played it, because I never got to play it in matchmaking. I never got the opportunity. I may have walked around the map before, but when I did play it, I had fun. I had fun with King of the Hill. The map, I'll agree with you, didn't really stand out to me as like, oh, hey, look at this. Oh, hey, look at that. Oh, that's awesome. Look at that. But I did like the zero gravity in the center. I also liked the cool, if you look out the windows, you can see Reach being glassed. That's pretty cool. Makes the map at least look cool on the outside, whereas in the inside it was kind of eh. I gave it a 6 out of 10. Opinion might have changed had I actually got to play it more in like competitive matchmaking, but for what I did, 6 out of 10 seems right.
Yeah. Next up we got Countdown.
I had a lot of fun with Slayer and Stockpile on Countdown, and Oddball was pretty good too, but I really liked playing Stockpile on it. I like the layout of the map with the multi-level platforms that are kind of run in a circle. Other than that, the map it's kind of an average map, looks-wise, and it plays kind of average for pretty much everything else. If you're not playing Slayer, Stockpile, or Oddball, you probably don't want to play this map. I would probably give it a 6 out of 10, a little above average. It was fun, but I'm not clamoring for it.
Yeah, I agree that definitely it played Stockpile pretty well. It played General Slayer pretty well. I thought 2 versus 2 played well on here. Oddball can be fun on it, but I don't know. It's just something about it's not that appealing to me. It's not a bad layout. I don't know. Something just doesn't feel right about it. I guess to put it into terms, I do think it's one of the better ones of Reach, in my opinion, but that's only saying so much because in general, I just don't think this map is still that, anything to write home about. I don't think I'd like to see this again. And I'm going to go ahead and, oh man, I got to give it a 6 out of 10. It's just, once again, above average. I don't mind playing on it. It has its moments, but once again, it's not something that I seek out. Like you said, I'm not going to be searching Countdown, to play more games on Countdown. Next up, we got Hemorrhage. Hemorrhage is the Coagulation / Blood Gulch remake. And once again, this is in Forge World. And I don't know what it is about these Forge World maps, but none of them really appeal to me as much as like an actual official made remake of something. It just doesn't seem to play as well. I don't. I mean, obviously these environments were made specifically with these maps in mind. I believe, like obviously Hemorrhage, was made, or this part of Forge World was made specifically for a Blood Gulch remake, but it just does not play, in my opinion, nearly as good as Coagulation or Blood Gulch did. It's not a bad map. It just seems really boring. I don't know. It just doesn't have the same spark to it. It doesn't have that same it factor. And as for and I maybe I'm holding up to high standards with Blood Gulch and Coagulation being, in many people's minds the Halo map when they think of Halo. This one I think kills that trend. I think this is the one where people were like, okay, that's enough of Blood Gulch. Okay, that's enough of Coagulation. I don't want that map anymore. This map kind of put a sour taste in people's mouths, I believe, or at least in mine. So I'm going to go ahead and give it a 4 out of 10. I just, something about it. I mean, I usually like a lot of big team battle maps, but this one, I think the disappointment factor also added to it. I just did not care for the changes they made, and it just doesn't feel the same.
Yeah, Hemorrhage, I feel like it's the green and gray of Forge World. It seems to drag everything down with it because it feels like these maps were adapted to a previous palette rather than made made as like a map that was supposed to be original or something. You're supposed to separate from the others. All the Forge World maps look exactly the freaking same. And I was a little disappointed with it too. Didn't play quite the same. I didn't like the addition of the concussion rifle on the map, but when do I ever? Because that was just so frustrating. I'm just kind of tired of this map. Blood Gulch and Coagulation was enough. I didn't need another one. I played it so much in Halo 1 and Halo 2. I was kind of done with it, and then they bring it back and adapt it in Forge World. Just wasn't doing it for me. I gave it a 5 out of 10, so I guess I liked it a little bit better than you, but still, not that great.
Yeah. Next up, we got High Noon.
High Noon. Oh my gosh. I've probably said it enough, but I don't like Hang 'em High. Never did. I never will. Nothing you can do can make me like Hang 'em High. I dare you. But Slayer and CTF is kind of what you get out of the map. The small additions were easy to miss. The two little kind of tunnel areas behind each base. It's Hang 'em High again. 3 out of 10.
Yeah, High Noon. I think it. I will say that I think it plays better than Tombstone. Not quite as good as Hang 'em High for me, but definitely better than Tombstone. A step up. I like the changes. One of them being they added a little cover in necessary spots that just seemed to be too open to the point where it just got to be unfun, or just like you just had no cover and it was a pain in the ass to get anywhere. So I like that. I like the added lifts that they put on there to help access the map a little bit more, like the walkways and stuff. They put a couple lifts by the base and stuff. So that's nice. So you don't feel like when you're down on the ground you have to walk halfway across the map just to be able to get up into the base area, etc. So I like those changes. I think it looks better than Tombstone, but once again didn't play quite as well as Hang 'em High in my opinion, or at least I didn't have as much fun with it. But I'm gonna go ahead and give it a 6 out of 10. Better. Uh, yeah, I mean I think I rated Tombstone the same, but yeah, this one does it better, but it's still, like you said, I think I'm just grown tired of this map in general. I don't know why it's been brought back for a third time, but I mean, I guess, it is the Halo 1 anniversary, so I guess why not? But still, I think I'd rather they chose something else for a change. Next up, we got Highlands. Highlands is definitely one of the better maps. I will say that I've never actually got to play a matchmaking playlist, or at least I don't think I have. I might have. Um, but I did play this a few times by myself or in custom games with people, just a small group of people, and it's fun. It has a great layout, but until I play it, I don't feel like I can do it justice, but it just seems like it has a lot going for it. It looks great in my opinion. It has, like I said, an awesome layout to it, and I think it looks like it'd be tons of fun for a big team battle, like just chaos. And I'd love to play some games on it, and it's just disappointing that I didn't get to. So, I mean, with how much potential it seems to have, I I feel like it's unfair for me to rate it. At least everything else I had a good idea of what to expect from it, but I can't rate this one just based on the fact that I don't want to rate it too low because like I said, I think it has good potential, but at the same time I don't want to rate it high if it has some issues. So I'm just gonna say I can't rate this one because I don't want to do it injustice, but it definitely looks cool, and I think most people regard this as one of the better Reach maps in general.
I thought this map was great, and I think I played a total of 3 games on it, and one of which came very recently. I feel like the layout was pretty unique and fresh, and it was, like you said, it had a lot of things going for it. It looks like it would be great for big team battle. Slayer and Objective were probably game types that were going to work perfectly on that map, and I wish I'd gotten to play it more. I did rate it, but my rating was relative to how much I played it. And to me, how much I played it, I gave it an 8. There's not too much stock in that 8 because I didn't really get to play it a lot. But as I stand right now, I feel like maybe they should bring it back for Halo 4. Give this map another chance because, like you said, people seem to hold this one in high regard. Maybe bring it back. Might be fun because we didn't really get a chance the first time around.
Yeah, for sure. I'd love to see something like this back, or even this map. I'd like to give it a chance. Paradiso is next, or Paradiso, or however you want to call it.
I think it's like Paradisio. Is that it?
I don't know, man.
Parada. Anyway,
Paradu.
it was decent for objective game types. What I found really weird about it, and it might just be a quirk of mine, is the bases on the map seemed really tiny compared to the size of the map they're on. It was built on the island in Forge World, and it seemed like you came up over the hill and you looked at the enemy base, and you're like, "That's it? That's the base?" It seemed to come up less and less in multiplayer too as it went on. I feel like we played it constantly when Reach came out, and then near the end you didn't really get it. I don't think that wasn't planned. I just think it kind of stopped showing up because people didn't like it. They probably got phased out. I gave it a 5 out of 10.
Yeah, I mean that also speaks to the downfall of the voting system because, like you said, it stopped showing up towards the end. Definitely, I don't. I think I maybe played one game towards the end on it, whereas, like you said, in the first part of Reach, it definitely was there a lot. And I know they put so many Forge World maps, like big team battle maps, in matchmaking that I think this one just got pretty much drowned out and suffocated in that regard. That even if it did pop up in the voting, which there was so many random generic variants of Forge World maps, that this one just kind of fell under the radar. And anytime, like I said, it popped up, people didn't vote for it because probably they just got tired of playing the same thing when Reach first came out. So yeah, I mean, personally, I like the map. I like the layout. I think it was a lot of fun when we did get to play it. I like the teleporters going to that big center base, and yeah, I agree. The two starting bases are kind of small. I would like to see them a little bit bigger, but I think the middle base being so damn large is probably what they wanted to like shoot people towards. Um, but overall I did enjoy it. I love the little cave system. It's kind of like a or not waterworks, but Sidewinder, not nearly as good or cool or fun, but I think the general layout and structure of what they were trying to do with that island part is kind of like their version of like a Sidewinder part of Forge World almost, where you can make Sidewinder if you want to. But yeah, it overall I think this was one of the better Forge World maps, like created maps, I guess. And I'm gonna go ahead and give it a 7 out of 10. It was fun and it had some interesting gameplay. I liked kind of climbing up on the middle mountain and looking down. It had some fun moments like that. Next up, we got Penance. This is the remake of Damnation, and I really like Damnation in Halo CE, and this map seems to play just as good. They didn't. I mean, I can't notice really a whole lot of changes. They smoothed out a lot of areas, of course. Going from Halo CE all the way to Halo Reach, they're going to smooth a lot of things out and make a lot of things seemingly play better. And I thought this one still was fun. This is one of the DLC ones that we got to play a lot more of, Capture the Flag and Assault and stuff. And I had a lot of fun on it. I still think it plays pretty well, and Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and give it a 7 out of 10.
This map was pretty unchanged from its Halo 1 predecessor. I'm really not sure if they changed anything besides the graphics. It was a fun map for Slayer, and I really liked playing Assault. To me, that's about it, though. That's about what you can play on that map. Maybe Oddball, if you really like Oddball. I liked in Halo 1. I still like it now. It's just not one of my more favorite maps. I give it a 6 out of 10.
All right. Next up, we got Pinnacle.
Pinnacle is another map that was pretty much unchanged from its predecessor. It's pretty much Ascension. It's very much the same map in a lot of regards, and it's great for Assault, Slayer, those type of game types. But it's dragged down by the Forge World green and gray. It looks like every other map in Forge World. I ended up giving a 6 out of 10. It just wasn't the same Ascension, but it was pretty close.
Yeah, definitely. One thing is, the wheel in the middle didn't, like a little satellite thing, I guess, and the middle doesn't rotate anymore. Not like that's a huge issue or anything, but yeah, it's still Ascension. It's still fun. I don't like it as much as Ascension. I don't know why. Maybe it's the whole Forge World thing. Once again, something about Forge World, everything looks the same, and this is no different, and it just kind of it gets boring after a while. And I really liked Ascension from Halo 2. So, I mean, this to me was a downgrade, but it was still fun. If you were jonesing for more Ascension gameplay in a, updated setting with equipment and stuff like that, this gave it to you. So, yeah, or armor abilities, I guess I should say. But yeah, it was still fun. So I'm going to go ahead and give it a 6 out of 10. Powerhouse is next. Powerhouse is uh man, I don't have a whole lot of fun on this map, and I don't think it's a bad map. I just for some reason I guess maybe it's cuz it was in the beta that I just never I got tired of this map. I guess this is the snowbound for me where I just got kind of bored of this map pretty quickly. It does do like stockpile well. It does do capture the flag well. It does just Slayer in general well. I do like the layout. It's a fun map. I just for some reason it just got boring to me. I don't know why. It just did. But I mean, overall, like I said, it's still a fun map, and I'm gonna go ahead and give it a 7 out of 10. I do think this is in part of the better ones of Reach, but yeah, I just got kind of tired of it.
I wasn't a really big fan of this map. I liked playing CTF and Assault, and Infection was pretty good on it in the variant for Infection. I feel like you're kind of screwed if you end up in the low ground in the center. There's not really anything there you can fight your way out with unless you can duck into the little bottom, almost like a bathroom area, and grab the the grenade launcher. But besides that, I don't know. I feel very underwhelmed in a lot of spots in this map where it's just like they could have done more. And if you're not playing CTF, maybe you're not going to really like this map. I gave it a 4 out of 10. I kind of feel you with the whole Snowbound comparison. It just wore on me to the point where I'm just like, I'm so sick of this map, and I really don't think it stands up that well. So, 4 out of 10.
All right, next up we got Reflection.
Jetpacks really killed how this map played. The different levels of this map that I talked about before with Ivory Tower really don't mean a thing when the jetpack is an option. And I know a lot of people in custom games, they just take it out and don't play with jetpack, but just the armor abilities didn't work very well with this map. Jetpack being the biggest one. It's a CTF or assault map, and that's basically it. Looks really nice compared to its predecessor, but I gave it a 5 out of 10.
Yeah, I think you nailed it right on the head when you said jetpacks killed this map. I think just armor abilities in general killed this map and a lot of maps from previous games. I don't think a lot of maps from Halo CE through 3 really play well with armor abilities unless they're adjusted well enough to, I mean, basically you're going to be changing the map, but some can be adjusted to still work well, and some have, still hold up, but this one to me definitely I really loved Ivory Tower in Halo 2, and this one just did not do it for me. I mean, it's a beautiful looking map, the best looking in the game in my opinion. It's still fun to play on, But in terms of what it once was, this just is a shell of its former self. It feels like, just because, like you said, the jetpack and stuff like that just completely breaks the whole flow of the map, and they changed some of the jumps and the way the map plays just to like accommodate for sprint as well. So you sprint, and like you used to be able to make certain jumps, but now you have to have sprint to make those jumps. And since sprint isn't like an automatic thing that everybody has, some of those jumps you just can't do. And like you said, the jetpack just breaks it. I don't know. It just does not work as well, and it makes it less fun, and that's disappointing. I would have wanted to see more from an Ivory Tower remake, but like I said, it's beautiful. So I still got to give it a 6 out of 10. It's still fun to play on. It's one of the more like it's still one of the better ones that I like to play on in this in this game, that I'd still choose over some others. But yeah, it's a disappointment in that regard. Next up, we got Ridgeline. This is a remake of Timberlands from Halo CE, which we never got to play just because it was from the PC edition. So it was kind of fun, being able to play this for the first time, because, if it was a favorite enough at least to bring it back for the anniversary edition, then, I'm intrigued. I want to play this. And, I think it did some things well. I love the forest environment to it. I think it looks really cool, and it's a unique layout in that there's no other maps that I can think of with that, foresty, tons of trees everywhere environment that it sets out. I am growing a little annoyed and tired, especially in this game, that like half the maps have that waterfall with a stream running through it. Like, do you notice that?
Now that you mention it, yeah.
It's kind of weird. Like, it just gets kind of old. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love the waterfall and the stream going through levels and stuff like that. But dear God, it's just getting so tedious and overdone with these maps. I'm huge on map diversity and uniqueness, and I like my environments to look different. Obviously layout is key, and that's number one priority. But if you're looking at, it's just like Forge World. If you're looking at the same thing over and over, it gets really boring really fast. And the whole water, I mean, I'm just nitpicking on that one little aspect of this map, but that doesn't bring it down, in my opinion. It's just, I just had to throw that out there, that just now when I thought about this map, it reminded me that I was thinking about that. Um, as in terms of the layout and how the gameplay works, I think it's a fun map. Uh, I played. This is one that I did get to play in the Big Team Battle anniversary playlist before they took it out. I played at least 3 or 4 matches on it, and it was fun. I don't think it beats some of the other Big Team Battle classics for sure. I wouldn't put it in my top 5 or anything like that, but it was decent. It was fun, and it makes for some hectic, cool kind of gameplay with all the trees in the way. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10. One of the better ones.
This was a pretty fun map, although I have pretty limited experience with it. I think a total of 3 custom games. They weren't even big team games. In some ways, it almost feels like kind of a more greener and foresty Sidewinder, where you got the 2 bases. There's a curve to it at least, and it's interesting. It's got a lot of places you can go, a lot of nooks and crannies. There's different areas in the map that are cool and neat, and you're like, and what I really like about maps, especially like these, is if a teammate needs to find you, you can say, "Hey, I'm next to the waterfall," or "I'm next to," I don't know exactly how to put it right now, but in the heat of the moment, there's that little area with the rockets. It's kind of like a tower, but you can tell people where you are because this map is pretty distinct, and that's pretty cool. It's got the distinction of being pretty green and gray and not made in Forge World, and I'm still gonna have to knock it a little bit for that because I'm just so sick of those colors. But it's at least not a carbon copy of everything like in Forge World. It's what those maps in Forge World should have been. Even if they have the same color palette, it had its own personality. It wasn't just something pigeonholed into Forge World, even though it looked green and gray. I gave it a 6 out of 10. I would love to play it more, and I might have rated it higher had I played it more, but I liked it for what it was. So 6 out of 10.
Cool. Next up is Solitary.
Solitary. This is pretty much a. The best part of this map is playing game types where you have to move around a lot, like Headhunter or King of the Hill, because there's a lot of cool different levels you can go to, different areas you need to reach and access. it's pretty cool, but if you don't play those, it's pretty average, just like its predecessor. It's 5 out of 10. You know, kind of average. Works for two game types pretty well, but the rest, not so much.
Yeah, this is another one where if you're playing on classic settings, it can be fun. But if you're playing, I mean, I know this from experience. This is one that I played multiple times in matchmaking, and if you're playing, if you're playing like doubles or just King of the Hill in general, and that hill is all the way up on top on one of the walkways, and you're playing classic without any of the armor abilities, you got to walk up all those ramps just to get to the hill, and it's either going to move or you're going to die right away when you get up there. And that gets tedious and annoying really fast for that game type. For Slayer, it works all right and it's fine. Oddball, it's pretty fun. I think it's a good map for Oddball, even though, once again, if you get all the way up there and you die, that just sucks. And then, if you're not playing classic settings and you're playing with armor abilities, if you have the jetpack in this map, it's definitely going to ruin it for sure. Because if you don't pick jetpack, you're pretty much, at a huge disadvantage of the fact that people can get the height advantage over you very easily. Um, but overall, I think it plays all right. I agree with you. I don't think it's anything special, but I don't think it's bad. I think it's kind of middle of the road. I'm gonna go 5 out of 10. It's fun, but I don't think this is something I want to see back. I can get into the very hectic gameplay of the smaller maps, and I think this is one of the smallest maps in the game or in any Halo game. But I don't know. I think if you're gonna make such a small map, I think it can be done better than this, personally. So yeah, 5 out of 10. Next up is Spire. This is once again another one made for Invasion in mind, and works pretty much for Invasion only. Beyond Slayer, Big Team Battle Slayer, and it plays Invasion well. So much so that I think it plays better than Boneyard, just because it has that unique aspect to it of the huge, huge tower up there. Even though I think the huge tower kind of doesn't work in a way that once you get up there and you grab the core, you can just easily throw it off, and it pretty much negates the whole tower aspect pretty quickly. I almost should. I almost think you shouldn't be. I don't know how they would fix that, but or just make it so the tower is harder to penetrate. Just in general, because all you gotta do is take the lifts up there, and as long as you can overpower the other team just even slightly long enough to grab the core, jump through that little back window or shield door that they have there, you have plenty of time to just throw it off, and yeah, then it kind of defeats the whole purpose of the tower. In my opinion, if you're gonna have a giant spire, you should make it so you have to work your way up the spire, and then when you finally get to the top, that's when you get your reward. But it's not hard to work your way up the spire in this. Like I said, you just got to take the lift, and that seems to be kind of like a cheat of what could be a really cool concept of having a whole map be based on climbing your way up the tower, and then when you finally get up there, yeah, then maybe you can throw the core off. But just the fact that you get up there so easily and can throw the core off just kind of ruins the whole strategy to it, in my opinion. Though you can still use the Falcon and stuff like that, and it's fun. I'm not knocking the map. I just think it doesn't work the way it should. I think it has a lot more potential than it lives up to. Um, but yeah, overall, I think it does play Invasion better, and I'd give it a 7 out of 10. I'd like to see not this map back, but I would like to see a similar concept with the ideas that I put forth into like just minor suggestions like that, where you're actually working your way up a spire.
Well, did you get a copy of my notes before this? Because you pretty much just said everything that I thought as well. Um, I would like to see something like this in the future because I thought the Spire was a really cool part of the map. But for Invasion, yeah, you could just throw the core off of there. I really had fun playing Big Team Slayer games on it, and the area around the Spire and the Spire itself had a lot of really fast, exciting combat, which was really fun. The place where the invasion attackers start is kind of wasted on any other game type. I know you can run out there, and there's usually a Banshee, I believe, out there in Big Team Slayer, but besides that, it's kind of wasted space. The area around the Spire, though, for Big Team Slayer, awesome. I have a lot of fun. The Spire's really cool. I just like all the neat things you can do with it. Jumping off, if you have a jetpack, you can save yourself. You can jump onto flying vehicles. You can take flying vehicles. You can assassinate people as you fall. It's really cool. I had a lot of fun with it. If I have to pick my favorite map that came with the base maps, this would probably be it. But given that it's Halo Reach and I'm kind of underwhelmed with some of their base maps, the best I can do is a 7 out of 10.
Next up, we got Sword Base.
Unlike some other maps where it seems like, especially remakes where the jetpack really changed how it played, I can't really say Sword Base is ruined by the jetpack because we've always had it with the jetpack. It seems like some of the maps, or some of the parts of the map, are really made for jetpacking, but I will say jetpack loadouts, if you don't have one, it's frustrating to play against people that do because all those levels to get to are just so easy with the jetpack and so hard for everyone else. If the jetpack's not your thing, you're probably not going to like this map. It worked for Slayer pretty well and King of the Hill. CTF and Assault aren't really that great. This map was pretty average. It's definitely not something I would ever want to see back, but I don't dread playing it. I would give it a 5 out of 10.
Yeah, agreed on pretty much all parts. Personally, I'm not a jetpack player. In most times, I don't choose the jetpack. This might be one of the maps that I do choose it every once in a while when I get frustrated. That I run up all these ramps and then I die, or I'm chasing a guy and running after him, and then he just jetpacks up to the very top floor, and I know there's no way I'm gonna get up there unless I take that lift or something. But if you're not by that lift, then you're pretty much screwed. So yeah, you're at a very distinct disadvantage just from the start if you do not choose the jetpack. And that's where I think, a lot of the Reach maps kind of are broken in that regard where, like you said, these maps were made with jetpack in mind. So in my opinion, they should be completely balanced out. But obviously they made certain things for certain, you use this armor ability and you get that advantage of just being able to go at whatever floor you want or being able to make this jump if you choose sprint. And I don't think that makes for good gameplay. Halo's been all about, everybody being on an even playing field, and the best person, the best player wins because he knows how to work the map better or whatever. And I think when you just have one specific armor ability that works way beyond, or well, way beyond the others on a certain map, then it just kind of, I don't know, to me, it just isn't that fun. I'm not saying the map isn't good. It's not good. It's okay. It's decent. It's all right, but it's not bad either. I mean, it's had its moments and it's fun, but I got kind of tired of it. It was fun for capture the flag, but that's I mean, it's in a, like Elite Slayer and stuff. But beyond that, I don't remember anything else being like too amazing for this. So I'm gonna go ahead and give it a 5 out of 10. It's pretty, for me, it's middle of the road. It's not something I prefer to play on, but it's not something I dread either. It's just it is what it is. And Tempest is next. Tempest is another one where I don't even think I got to play any matchmaking games. If I did, it was maybe one. It's strictly just customs for this. I gotta say, the whole island setting is like we've already mentioned. Is I'm just tired of it. You know, by this, this was the first DLC that came out, I believe, and I was already sick of Forge World by that time. So seeing something set in a very similar, like this could have taken place in Forge World, it seems like it's just that similar of an environment, and that to me is already like a huge knock on it, just because it's like I'm tired of looking at this island adventure setting where Gilligan's Island and we got all this green and blue and gray. It's like, give me a break. Why would you make us pay for a map that looks like it could have been made in Forge World? But I digress. It's still a unique concept. I like the lifts that shoot out towards the middle with the two turrets there. I bet that would make for some awesome gameplay. Just based on the gameplay that you and I played, it was a lot of fun. I like the layout. It seems like it would be a great 4v4, like flag or assault. Neutral bomb would be a lot of fun, I would imagine. So, I mean, rating it based on just those factors, that I think the layout does have a lot of potential to it, I'd have to go 6. No, I'm going to go 7 out of 10. I think I would like to see this layout back. I think it would be a lot of fun. Just put it in a different environment. Give it a volcano setting. I don't care. Just make it all black. It doesn't matter to me. Just give it something else.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there. It's a great layout on a bad environment. It feels like Forge World. It feels like what, gosh, what, like 40% of the maps are on. an island or green or gray. It just feels like a lot of the maps, or it looks like a lot of the maps already in the game. Gameplay wise, it's pretty cool. The opposing man cannons on multiple parts of the map, but especially in the middle, are pretty cool. And the layouts are awesome. The areas behind the base, pretty cool too. It seems like it's a great layout, and they had a great idea. They just put it on a bad canvas. I don't know if I'd like to see this back. Maybe the layout again. I gave it a 6 out of 10 from what I played. I didn't get to play it a lot, but it was better than average a little bit.
All right, we got The Cage.
Oh god, the cage. This map seemed to be a Slayer only map. I really didn't think any other game types really worked on this map, especially Infection. I thought Infection was terrible on this map, and it came up a lot. And basically, people would kind of hide in the center area and get up on that glass there, and it just wasn't really fun. All the action seems to funnel to the middle or around the man cannon. It seemed, oh god, just very uninspired. I'm sure whoever, I'm sure they put a lot of work into it, but it just didn't work very well. And it's not even green and gray. It's just gray. It's all gray. It just sucks. I don't want to see it again. I didn't like it. I hate when it comes up. I gave it a 4 out of 10.
The Cage was obviously this maps are not maps, but this game's supposed to be like Lockout Guardian type variant that they put into, or at least that's what the video stated. I remember leading up to the game, and I really enjoyed this map personally because I like to at least have one of those Slayer, just hardcore Slayer maps designed just for Slayer, and that works really well for Slayer. I agree that for Infection it's just awful. I don't know why people kept voting for this map. I would have rather played any other DLC map or anything, but once again, we didn't get to play, many of the DLC maps because people didn't have them or whatever. But unfortunately, we got stuck with the Cage over and over again. I mean, where's all the other Forge World variants for Infection? Where's the stuff made specifically for Infection, like in Halo 3? I mean, the haunted house and stuff like that. And it's just like, that stuff is cool. The Cage is not made for Infection. Why are we playing Infection? It just seems like we're put in a random environment and are supposed to make it work, but I understand that concept, but it just doesn't work on this map. It's just stupid. And yeah, for that I do not care for the map. But in terms of Slayer, and like I agree with you, this is only made for Slayer. I can't think of any other game type that this would work on. Maybe King of the Hill or something, but just obviously that's just another variant on type of Slayer. But anyways, I do like the way the map is set up. I think it could be better. It's not better than Lockout. I don't even think I'd say it's better than Guardian. But it's not a bad map. I'm going to go ahead and give it a 6 out of 10. I don't think I'd want to see it again, but I did appreciate it in terms of Halo Forge maps. This was one of the ones that I'd prefer to play on. Next up, we got Zealot, and that would be the last one. This is not midship.
I will say you were correct.
Yeah, I will say that right off the bat. Not to say that every Covenant map has to live up to midship. Well, it kind of does, but it doesn't have to be midship to be good. Is basically what I'm saying. And this is not midship. I don't think it plays nearly as well as midship, and you can tell they were going for a similar concept with the circle aspect to it and the multiple levels and stuff like that, but I just didn't. I don't know. I did not care for this map. I mean, it has its moments. The whole you can go outside up on top, that's cool. But guess what? Nobody really did it. I can't think of one time in matchmaking where, you had more than maybe 2 people at a time up there. And that's, in total, out of 8 people, you would maybe only randomly encounter one other person up there, rarely in another game. At least that's from my experience. And it just made the whole outside area kind of pointless. I mean, obviously it was to get from, one side to the other and, without getting too shot up or whatever, I guess. But I just didn't care for it. I thought it was a cool concept, but the execution just wasn't there for me. Yeah, I don't like that middle part. I don't like how those lifts work that shoot you over to the sides and stuff like that. It just I don't know. I got very frustrated while we were playing this map just because I'd go towards those, like I'd go towards the middle, and all I wanted was a lift that shot me straight up so I could get on the middle top platform, right there on that middle level. And there was no lift that did that. They all shoot you off to the side, or you go this way or you go that way, and it's like I don't want to go there. I want to go just up to the floor right above us. There's a hole even, but there was no lift there, and that was annoying to me. But yeah, I mean, it just didn't do it for me. I'm not saying this was the worst map ever. It's probably not even my least favorite Reach map, but just in terms of how I just didn't really find anything that great on this map, I gotta give it a 4 out of 10. I just did not care for it.
I felt this map was pretty well set up for multi-team games. I came across it a lot playing multi-team, and it was all right for those kind of game types. It certainly wasn't very good for. I think we played neutral bomb on it, and didn't work very well for that because the place where I planted the bomb was pretty easy to get to, and then I could go outside through the low grav area, grab the bomb again, and just kind of work in a circle like that. The low grav area was pretty cool, but like you said, no one really went there. You didn't really have to, or there was no reason to. There was nothing really up there to get, except I think a concussion rifle. But whoop-de-doo. It was okay. 4 versus 4 was all right. I think multi-team was probably the best part of it. But if that's the best thing you got going for it, it's probably not that great of a map. I gave it a 5 out of 10. I like it a little bit better than you do, but still pretty middle of the road.
All right. Well, then that finishes off the maps. Now I got to get into our favorites. We're going to do small, medium, and large, and our least favorite, and then we'll rate the maps as a whole in general. Do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. I'll go first. I think, gosh, my favorite small map. This is a lot of work here. This is kind of hard to pick.
Yeah.
Pick my favorite small map out of this.
It's like picking something good out of a lot of bad or just mediocre.
Gosh, my favorite small map. Small maps kind of weren't. There weren't a lot of small maps in this game.
Yeah, there really wasn't. I think the addition to sprint and all the stuff just kind of made all the maps a little bit bigger, which I don't. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I mean, I understand where they're going from that, but I just think as a whole it didn't really work that well. But we're jumping ahead here.
Yeah, would Asylum count as a?
Yeah, I'd say that's probably small. I mean, that's probably as small as we're gonna get beyond like solitary, but so yeah, that's probably got to be the small category.
I'd probably have to go with Asylum for small. For medium, gosh, man, these maps. Holy crap! I really rated a lot of these 5 and 6.
Yeah, it was a very mediocre game. I mean, but yeah, we'll get into that. I keep wanting to.
We'll get into that.
I want to keep wanting to jump ahead.
Yeah, I know. Can I go with Asylum? No. Gosh, Sword Base maybe? Is that a medium? Maybe flip those two. Sword Base is probably smaller than Asylum.
Yeah, I think Sword Base might be a little bit bigger, so just throw that as your medium. Either way.
Okay, I can do better with my favorite big map though. If I want to go DLC, which I didn't play much of, I would say Highlands. If I want to go with maps I did play a lot of, I would say Spire.
All right.
And my least favorite map would probably have to be High Noon, and I did play a lot of that, so I'm gonna go with High Noon.
My favorite small map would be, I'm gonna say Penance. Do you think that counts as small, or is that medium? I mean, I can't even, like you said, it's hard to tell.
It is hard to tell. There's not really, besides like Battle Canyon, there's really not a lot of like, oh, this is obviously a small map.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna say Penance as my small one. Medium would be Reflection. So you can flip flop those however you want, or however you want to interpret it. But either way, those are my small and medium, because those are probably, the least worst of all evils, I guess, the best of the bunch, in my opinion. In terms of large map, I'm gonna have to agree with Highlands if we're counting the ones that we didn't really get a whole lot of experience, but just based off potential. If we're going off ones we did play, oh man, it's so funny because in all the other Halos, the big team battle maps are usually the ones I have the most fun on. I mean, like just Halo 2 in general, I can name, 5 big team battle maps that I absolutely love.
Yeah.
And this one's really tough. But I'm going to go, man. I, I don't want to pick any of them. Can I just not pick one?
Can I just plead the fifth, please?
Uh yeah, I'm just going to have to agree because I can't think of a better one. We'll go Spire. It had a lot of fun moments out of the ones that I got to play a lot, which pretty much means anything that's not DLC. Spire was definitely better than Hemorrhage and Boneyard in my opinion. But in least favorite, I'm gonna go. Oh geez. Now I'm having a hard time picking one because I want to
See, they're
pick a lot
also
of them.
average.
um, least favorite overall, man. Looking through all of them, I'm just like, I don't even. I gotta go with Zealot, I guess, just because it just did not. Like I said, it just didn't really do anything for me.
Yeah.
I had a little fun double team wise, but while the other ones are pretty mediocre, Zealot, I guess, like the other ones, I would just be like, yeah, I don't really care to play on it. But then again, it's not that big of a deal if we do. Zealot's just one of those that I'm just like, whatever. No, I take that back. It's not gonna be Zealot because I just remembered freaking Boardwalk. I do not like Boardwalk at all. I don't remember what I rated if I rated it worse than Zealot, but that doesn't matter because Boardwalk is my
Screw
least
my
favorite.
ratings.
I'm glad I can't play it because it's not that I don't want to. I just don't want to play it. I at least said Zealot was all right in some regards, but Boardwalk I just did not have fun on. I just do not at all. But yeah, now let's talk about maps overall as a whole. I'll start and I'll just say, yeah, very mediocre, very middle of the road. I don't think I rated. I think I maybe rated one with an 8. Definitely no 9 or 10s in this. Nothing. I think maybe I'd only like to see 2 of these back ever, and that's being very generous. And those two, it's Highlands and maybe like Tempest. I think were the two, and Spire, something similar to Spire. But yeah, I just don't care about a lot of these maps. I don't want them back. Um, yeah, definitely the worst in the series. I can say that for absolute fact. I don't remember what I rated the other three. I know they were all either 7, 8, or 9, probably in that order. Halo 2 is definitely the best still. Reach is not going to take down any of them. I got to give Reach exactly what, you know, I'm going to go, oh man, do I go 6 or do I go 5? I'll go 6 just because it did, I think I rated more maps 6 than I rated 5. So I got to go 6 just because it is slightly above average. I mean, I think they could do worse. I think it could be even more average to the point where I just don't care about any of them. But yeah, definitely nothing to write home about. I do not. This was the most disappointing part of Reach, in my opinion. I didn't mind the gameplay. I thought the gameplay was fun. Some of the armor abilities annoyed me or bothered me and kind of took away from the experience. Like, I don't care for the jetpack being available on a lot of maps because I don't think they're made well enough for it. And armor lock and the camo not being a pickup. But getting away from gameplay aspects, just the maps just weren't good. I wasn't even gonna I wasn't excited for Halo 4 for the longest time because Reach's maps just put me off so much that I just thought the series was going downhill from there, and the maps just weren't going to work anymore. But hopefully, Halo 4 will, re-spark my interest, and we'll get into that next week. But what are your opinions on these maps?
If I had to call the Halo map or Halo Reach maps by one word, I would say mediocre. Um, Excluding the DLC, which had kind of a newness aura to me still, the base maps I rated one a 7 that was the highest, and one a 4, and that was the lowest. So there were a lot of 5 and 6s. They were just very average. Nothing I dreaded, nothing I loved. I've said that plenty of times before in this. If I had to rate the maps, Halo Reach by itself as a game, I would say 6 out of 10 as well. They could have done worse, but very, very average. And I don't know how else to put it, just so underwhelming compared to the other games.
Yeah, the way I kind of think of it is like Halo 1, and Halo 2 and Halo 3. There was some, all across the board. We had some, 7, 8s, and 9s, and even, a 10 here and there. And then we also had, some 2s and 3s in some of the maps. So maybe some people interpret that as worse because, the other games had worse maps that we hate, like actually had hate for, not just like, oh man, that map is just so plain and boring. It was just like, oh man, I do not want to play on that map because it sucks. So maybe people interpret that as worse, but I'd much rather have extreme highs and then a couple extreme lows than just completely boring, mediocre across the board. You know?
Yeah.
So that's the way I feel about it. I'd take, like I'd take 2 maps that I just absolutely hate, worst in the series, as long as the rest of them are like 5, 6, 7, 8, multiple 8s, multiple 9s, and even a 10. It's like it just didn't reach that high. There's no, like I said, there's no real redeeming qualities that just like, oh man, we got this map at least. Like it's like, oh, we got this map. I guess that's a little better than this map, and that's basically what it comes down.
Yeah, it's a lot more appealing to say, like, if you had a map rotation that was like, say, Sidewinder, Lockout, Waterworks, Midship, and Isolation. That's a lot more appealing than a map rotation that's the Cage, Condemned,
Sword base,
Zealot.
Penance.
Yeah, it's
Countdown.
Just like, yeah.
We go all day, but yeah,
Yeah,
it's just
it's like, here's all these great maps and a bad one, or all these maps. I was like, well, I'd take my chances with all the great maps and a bad one because that seemed what all the other Halo games were.
yeah.
A lot of the maps we rated at least above a 5. There were a lot of 6s and 5s in those maps, and only a couple 2s. Where this one, there were a ton of 5s and 6s for us.
Yeah. It's definitely really disappointing in that factor. Because I agree with you. It's just like, like the best way I could sum it up is, like you said, you take 5 or 6 maps from Reach, and you're like, like for 3 of them they're just mediocre. One you like a little bit less than the mediocre ones. One you like a little bit more than the mediocre ones. But none of them you're like, oh my gosh, I want to play on that, or oh my gosh, I don't want to play on that. Whereas the other ones, you have mostly the ones that you really love, or like, or think are okay, but then a couple ones that you're just like absolutely hate. But that's, I don't know, it's just not. It's just awful. I don't even want to talk about them anymore. So yeah, it's disappointing. I will say that the DLC ones definitely seem to do a little bit better, and those were made by 343. So let's hope that means something.
Let's hope.
Yeah, we have hope. I will. One last comment on the maps. The Forge World maps, I feel like we do have to say something beyond just our ranting from before. I will say the Forge World maps, while some of them were fun, they were just so plain and boring that I think that hurt it more than helped. And let's hope for Halo 4 they have 3 different environments with unique, structure pieces and stuff. So let's hope that means less just redundancy and beaten to death of environments and same freaking looking stuff everywhere.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, well that about wraps it up for this. We do have one last one next week, and then it's Halo 4 time. And what we'll be doing next week is it's just gonna be a shorter one. We're not gonna, it's only 10 maps that we're gonna be talking about. I don't know if we'll do the Forge environments or not. That'd bump it up to 13. Either way, we hope to have Tyler and Ben back, or whoever we get, and we're just gonna kind of give basic impressions. We're not gonna rate them or anything. Maybe we'll rate them based on how fun they look or something stupid like that. But it's just gonna give our little impressions, just so we can have something to reflect back on when we actually play all the maps and have plenty of time with them, because we plan on doing a follow-up one, obviously, of rating all of Halo 4's maps once all the DLC comes out. So it'll probably be, a good. All the DLC is supposed to be out by 5 months, so we'll probably shoot for 8 or 9 months, and then we'll come back and rate all the maps like we did for these games, and kind of so it'll be a nice way to kind of compare what we thought about the maps and then how they actually played. So yeah, you could check out Matt's stuff where.
Probably the best way to check out my stuff is just Google 3-Hit Combo Podcast, and it basically lists everything in order of importance, starting with Facebook, facebook.com/3-Hit Combo Podcast, youtube.com/3-Hit Combo Podcast, and find us on gpxgaming.net.
All right, and if you want to find some more Goomba Stomp stuff, facebook.com/Goombastomp, or obviously, if you're listening to this, you're on youtube.com/Goombastompshow. And that'll do it for this week. Hopefully you guys enjoyed, and see you next week.
Get 'em wet, Shaggy.
Adios. Have a great Halloween.